This is One on One.
Brought to you by the New Jersey Education Association.
We are pleased to welcome Mr. Brian Maher, who is member of the leadership group of Pre-K Our Way, and also the former chairman of Maher Terminals. Good to see you, Mr. Maher.
Nice to be here.
You care very deeply about pre-K education. Why?
Well, when my brother and I sold our business back in 2007, I started looking around for what could I do to be productive. And like everybody else, I recognized the issues that face the country: stagnant growth, income inequality, lack of skilled workers. And so I concluded that education was an area where I should focus, and I had had some experience with it in the past. And I started looking in, and people said to me, you ought to look at early education. And I did. And I got very interested in it, and we worked with the Ironbound Community Corporation.
Great organization.
Yeah, in Newark, and we created a 0 to 5 early learning center. And as we did that, I began to learn more about it, and I learned about the situation in New Jersey, where we have a first-class quality early education pre-K program as a result of the Abbott decision back in the early 2000s. And then I realized that it was only existed in 34 communities, and I thought, well, maybe we can have a bigger impact on pre-K if we try and raise the public will in New Jersey to expand it beyond the current communities.
Let's play this out a little bit. For those who don't know, Maher Terminals, a very successful company. Describe it.
Maher Terminals is a marine terminal located in Port Elizabeth and now also or at least at the time we sold it, in Prince Rupert, British Columbia, which is about 50 miles south of Juneau, Alaska. And Maher Terminals specializes in handling container cargo in both those locations. It is the largest terminal in the Port of New York, New Jersey, and handles about 1.3 million containers a year.
So let's talk about this a little bit. Pre-K. A lot of folks, if you ask this on a survey, would say, of course I support pre-K. Of course every child should have the opportunity that my child, if someone lives in a more affluent area, more comfortable area, and they actually have sent their child to a pre-K situation, they'd say, of course. But that's not the case in the vast majority of situations for a lot of children. Why do you believe, Mr. Maher, we do not have pre-K for every child in this state and this nation?
Well, I think the reason we don't have it today is because the public has permitted the inequity that exists currently in the New Jersey school systems to continue. There's 34 communities in New Jersey that have, or school districts that have pre-K, publicly funded pre-K.
Take that back for a second. 34 out of potentially 600.
Yes.
Put that in perspective.
Yes.
A very small percentage.
A very small percentage. But there's this huge inequity that exists. You have cities like Bayonne, that is right next to Jersey City. Jersey City has publicly funded pre-K, and Bayonne does not.
Why?
Because well, there is an existing law on the books that was passed in 2008, extending pre-K to 90 additional high-need districts that was never funded. And why that is, I mean, you'd have to ask the legislature why it wasn't funded, but it has not been funded.
Do you think the average person in New Jersey, I mean, I made the argument, devil's advocate, Mr. Maher, that most people in New Jersey would want to see every child have that opportunity. Are you saying you don't think that's the case?
No,
or they're not aware?
I think they're not aware. In fact, we did a survey. We retained Monmouth University a couple of years ago and did a survey of New Jersey voters, and discovered that a majority of New Jersey voters do support the idea that there should be greater access to pre-K. The problem is they don't wake up every morning thinking we should do something about that.
Like it's not a priority.
It's not a priority, and so the objective of Pre-K Our Way is to educate these various communities and the people in them, and to generate a public will to pressure the legislature to do something.
What would you say to those who argue that the benefits of pre-K are not as clear-cut and not as significant as the advocates of universal pre-K argue that they are?
Well, we could talk about.
What do you
that.
say the benefits are?
If you, first of all, there have been studies that show that there are significant benefits throughout, and in fact, in New Jersey, there's an Apple study done by Maher that shows that there's increased reading and math skills through grade 5, and
If you have pre-K.
if you have pre-K. If you don't have pre-K, you're a half a year or 3/4 of a year behind that. Anybody who spends time with small children will recognize just how needy they are for stimulation, and if they don't get it in the first 5 years, and the brain science shows that in those first 5 years, it's extremely important that children get that kind of stimulation that they can get in a quality pre-K program.
But the other part of this that's very interesting is that those of us who have the means, the vast majority, I would argue, I mean, our daughter is 5 as we do this program, we made sure that she was in a pre-K program. So it's one thing what someone would argue in terms of what their opinion is. It's not quite another what they would do with their own child if, in fact, they could.
One of the things that I say quite often is those people who can afford to send their children to pre-K do. Those people who get it for free because they happen to live in one of those districts send their children to quality pre-K. It's the people in the middle that don't. I mean, you can to spend $20,000 or $25,000 a year to send your child to a private
right.
pre-K school is pretty difficult to do.
Mr. Maher, is this a political issue? Because there's a 2017 election for governor. There's going to be a new governor. Governor Christie is finishing up. There's going to be, whatever happens as we do this program, it's a presidential campaign going on. We don't know what's going to happen. But 2 terms, that's it. You finish as governor. There'll be a new governor. Will this be an issue in the 2017 race for governor?
Well, Pre-K Our Way's objective, and Pre-K Our Way is a group of, the leadership group contains business people, educators, advocates, and former political officials, former public officials. We have Governor Kane and Governor Florio as part of our leadership group.
So it's bipartisan.
It's definitely bipartisan, and it's nonprofit. And our objective is to make this an issue that's being discussed in New Jersey in the legislature, and hopefully in the 2017 gubernatorial election. Now, just recently, there was a bill introduced in the Assembly, sponsored by Assemblywoman J.C. and co-sponsored by Assemblywoman DeCroce.
So make that clear. J.C. is a Democrat, DeCroce is a Republican.
That's correct. It's also co-sponsored by
Senator Ruiz as well.
Well, Senator Ruiz in the Senate, in the Senate bill. There's 2 bills. There's one in the Assembly and one in the Senate.
And also Senate President Steve Sweeney is involved.
Senate President Steve Sweeney, and on the Assembly bill we have the Speaker as a co-sponsor, and also the chair of the Education Committee, Assemblyman Dignan.
So let me ask you before I let you out of here, who's against this?
Well, I really haven't met too many people that are against it. Many people think that, they say, well, yeah, we should do that, but we don't have the money. And I think the answer to that is you need to set priorities. I'm certainly not an advocate of raising taxes in New Jersey, but I think we need to set priorities. The legislature needs to set priorities, and certainly education, public education,
Sure.
is an investment. It's not an entitlement, and it should be a high priority.
Brian Maher, I promise you this, on our other program, our sister program called New Jersey Capital Report, more public policy oriented, we will continue this conversation because too many young people, children, are affected by this, and the state is affected as well. Thank you, Mr. Maher. We appreciate it.
Thank you for the time.
My husband and I spent more than 30 years in the public schools. We're retired, but we like to stay involved.
Do you think he's going to learn to fly?
We're just as busy now as in our teaching days. The same goes for a lot of the retired educators we know.
Let me see you all flap your wings like you're penguins learning to fly.
Teaching is all about building relationships, and that never goes away. Because once a teacher, always a teacher. We're Ed and Miriam, and we are proud to be New Jersey educators.
Also brought to you by NJM, Seton Hall University, and by the Northward Center.